Okay, hello and welcome. This is part of an educational series that we're doing in an attempt to bring you guys all the information on Ecuador. We're joined today by Kasia Matlag. She's an expert on all things health insurance in Ecuador. So we're going to have a conversation today about health insurance, get you guys all that information. We'll ask a bunch of questions. Of course, we'll put her contact info as well in the description so you can reach out to her directly if you do need to buy health insurance. Health insurance currently is one of the requirements for being a resident in Ecuador as a foreigner. It's part of the visa requirement, I guess, or really to get the cedula, I suppose, is how they enforce it. It changes all the time, I'm sure, but like everything. So yeah, we're gonna have a conversation today about health insurance in Ecuador, and Kasia, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I should mention too, behind us, or where we're sitting right now, is Madre Tierra. It's a beautiful hosteria here in Vilcabamba. It's for sale. It's on our website. It's really an interesting spot if you want to, run a hotel, of course, but it also would make an incredible family compound, retreat center. Lots of different, even housing.
Beautiful place.
It's a beautiful place. We're just a couple minutes from town. You can see Mandango right there over my left shoulder. So again, thanks for joining us, and thank you for taking the time. All right, well, let's start with just a little bit of your background, where you come from, how you got into insurance, and how you made it to Ecuador.
I'm originally from Poland. As you can see, I speak with an accent. It's hard to hide that. But I have lived in the US for 25 years, and this is where I got into insurance business about over 20 years ago, selling health, life, and international travel insurance. And 7 years ago, I moved to Ecuador because of health reasons and looking for fresh air, place where I don't have to have air conditioning and heating. And Vilcabamba meets all the requirements. We have the perfect climate here, perfect weather, and also access to fresh fruits and vegetables and healthier food than many other places in the world. So that's how I ended up here, and I love it. So when I came here, since my professional background is insurance, and 3 years ago Ecuador put a requirement on insurance for all the expats, people who will live here permanently, I decided, well, why not? I'm not retired yet, so I still have to work and earn a living. So I decided, well, I can certainly help the expats here in Vilcabamba, Loja area with getting health insurance and educating people on the healthcare in Ecuador. So I've been doing this in Ecuador now for the last 3 years.
Okay. 7 years ago, so 2014 you got here.
Yes.
Yeah, just, I got here, July of 2013, so right around the same time. Okay, cool. So let's dive right into the insurance. So again, it is a requirement now as a foreigner to hold health insurance in Ecuador. Some of the things that will surprise you, just to give a second of background, all of these things are much less expensive than we're used to coming from the States and other places. So the medical system in general, a doctor's visit in Loja, for example, is usually around $30 if you're paying out of pocket. The follow-up visit is usually free. There's not a ton of bureaucracy involved in the medical system here. Ecuadorians usually do not hold health insurance in general. There is like a public, there's public health care here. So if you have an emergency, you can go use the public system. Clinics here are used in a very wide way. People use clinics, Ecuadorians use clinics. But again, as a foreigner, you need the insurance for the visa. You may also want the insurance, of course, in case of something large happening, etc. So yeah, let's dive right into that. So I'm a foreigner. I'm coming here. First of all, when do I need to get that insurance policy?
If you're coming here with intention of staying permanently, you have to start your permanent visa process first. They changed the law a few years ago that now you're getting 2-year visa. And I believe recently there have been some other changes to the temporary visas, and people have to get first 2-year visa. As I understand, I'm not sure, the insurance certificate may not be required for that initial process, but if you are here and want to get a national identity card called cedula, then you will be required to show the proof of insurance. And as you mentioned, there are several options here. The ISS is a national program, the government program, but in order to enroll in ISS, you have to have cedula. So really, the only option at the beginning is to get a private insurance. There are a number of local companies available here, as well as some international companies who offer expat insurance that is worldwide. Of course, those plans are a lot more expensive. For younger people, might be affordable, who have online jobs and have good steady income here. For retirees, most of the time, the local Ecuadorian insurance is the best option and the least expensive. There are first dollar coverage plans with variety of options of coverage, and a high deductible catastrophic plan that covers you for $500,000, but your deductible is $5,000. A lot of people choose this option because it's affordable, and it gives someone a coverage for those larger expenses, like cancer, stroke, heart attacks, and more complicated surgeries and treatments in the future. So that's basically those two options. Some people, I know, subject of insurance is not a favorite subject for most people. From my 20 years of experience, people don't like to talk about insurance. But unfortunately, it's necessity here because the government made that requirement. Some people can be self-insured if you have a discipline to put money aside. Then later you can do it once you get all your documents. But in that initial arrival here, starting your visa process, it's good to have that done even before you come. I speak with people in the United States, in Europe, and even before they come here, they want to have that in place.
Sure.
And we can do it over the internet, through email and phone. It's very easy to get it done, and I can provide all the information and details. And like you earlier said, the healthcare system here is much more simpler, $30 to $40 per office visit. People ask me sometimes, what is the average cost of a simple surgery? Let's say you have appendectomy or hernia, gallbladder removal. In Loja, where we are, the average cost for these type of surgeries runs from $1,500 to $2,000. So that's very low cost comparing to the costs in the United States, where that type of surgery would cost $20,000 to $30,000 or more. So that's about cost. Simple tests run from $50 to $100. We have really affordable most type of treatments. And of course, another subject here is the natural therapies that we have here, which many of them are not covered by insurance, unfortunately. So
Right.
it's good to have some money put aside for healthcare expenses. I always encourage people, I say, just put some money aside every month for your healthcare expenses. They are not very high here. So if you have at least a high deductible plan, and if we can talk about the cost and simple premiums for those as well.
Just to give a little color from my personal experience to some of these things. So some years back, I had to get an MRI. The doctor's visit was $30, and the MRI was $200, and then the follow-up visit to read the MRI was free. So that was my cost there. I had an endoscopy done. If I remember correctly, it was like either $40 or $50, something like that. The endoscopy. I refused the painkiller Big mistake. Don't do that. Take the pain. Go. Let them put you to sleep. I don't know what I was thinking.
Yes.
Felt like I was gonna die. But so yeah, I mean, things here. I haven't had surgery and things like that, but yeah, I've heard. My understanding is they're pretty affordable. And then of course is the natural healers. Vilcabamba is really a hot spot for that. So if you're into sort of alternative health, this is a good place to be for that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about. Let's say I'm in the States. I'm getting ready to come here. I want to work my insurance out. I call you. Can I pay month to month? Is it a 1 year type commitment? How does that work?
There are several options. You can pay cash for the whole year and have that out of the way, or you have to set up a monthly payment with a bank draft, which can be done by US or European any foreign credit card, or local Ecuadorian bank account.
Okay.
So the payments are drafted monthly. You cannot go somewhere and pay each month. The first month premium is paid in cash. We fill out the application. We need a copy of your passport and a copy of the credit card when we submit the application with the first month's premium. So it's pretty.
So I can go
easy.
month to month, or
Yes.
I can pay for the year.
People ask me when can I cancel it. They issue a 1 year contract, so really they expect you to keep that 1 year contract. But if people have different life situations, they have to go back to their country, they are leaving Ecuador for some reason, of course they will cancel your policy without any problems.
Yeah, I find those things in general here are easier as far as getting out of contracts, or or like if you forget to pay a bill back home, there's all kinds of fees and extras. Here you don't. They don't really do stuff like
actually,
that.
even if the card expires, sometimes it's 1 or 2 months before we submit a new card info, and they will just draft the payments for the previous months without any problems. Your policy doesn't lapse so quickly here. So another subject will be people asking about paying claims, how insurance.
That was going to be my next question, please. Yeah.
There's no perfect insurance company anywhere, and there are different types of life situations when a person has a medical issue or surgery. Of course, they ask you to disclose pre-existing conditions, and there's usually 6 months, 12 months, or 1 year, or even 2 years pre-existing condition exclusion. So depending on the person's age and the condition, they decide what will be the period to exclude that particular condition. But after that, the system is not like, for example, in the US where medical offices are connected with insurance companies and they send the bills right away. There's a little bit of that here, but in majority cases we have to collect all the receipts, all the test results, all the test orders, and the doctor has to fill out a claim form. So once all this documentation is gathered, then we send it to the insurance company, they process it, and then they send you your refund based on what was done and how much they are going to cover. Most policies have 80 to 90% co-insurance. So you have a deductible, whether it's $100 or $200 or a $5,000 deductible, then first you have to meet that deductible. And after deductible, they might cover you 90% in the network or 80% out of network. The high deductible plan is pretty good because after deductible, it has 100% coverage in and out of network. And with these private companies, you can choose, you can even choose go to Quito or Guayaquil to a better hospital. So there's a range of opportunities. Comparing to ISS, and that will be another subject I could touch on a little bit, how the ISS system works.
That's the public.
That's the public one.
Yeah.
This is a government program, so you can imagine it's run by the government, and it's not as accessible as a private insurance because you have to go to a hospital or doctors who are part of the government program in one place. Usually, like in Loja, we have one hospital, and the doctors who admit people over there, you have to wait for certain procedures for 6 months or more. So there are waiting times. Even for an office visit, you may have to wait. Not in every city they do all procedures, so you may be referred to a hospital in Cuenca to have a certain surgery done. So there are some pluses and minuses. I hear both. Some people are satisfied. The cost is about $80 a month for the government program, and anybody can qualify for that once you have your cedula. So that's something to consider as well for those who can afford more, or people who are healthier and just want to keep the ISS for emergencies. But with private insurance, of course, you have a lot more choices.
So going back to sort of companies' proclivity to pay, compare it a little bit to the States. Do you find it's easier here to get reimbursement, to get paid for the procedures in general, or harder, or how would you compare that to back home?
Well, in the U.S., the providers are connected with insurance companies, and they handle that. So the client, the patient, doesn't have to deal with paperwork. They just go pay their copay or co-insurance, and or wait for the bill to pay after insurance pays. Here is a little bit different, and it can get a little complicated and probably more difficult at the beginning because we are not used to it. But once you gather the documents, I've processed several claims, and if the documents were correct, they did process it, and people received a check for the 90% or 80%. I had a couple of my little claims where I had a number right down too. So they did. I went to San Augustine, which is on the network in Loja, and they covered 90% of it.
So that must be for like almost a zero deductible kind of policy if you're
yes,
if you're claiming an MRI.
I have a plan with $100 deductible. So
sure.
I pay the first $100 annually, and then they cover 90% if I go to the network provider, or 80% out of network.
Sure.
And so far, they've been pretty good to pay, and several other clients.
Because you hear about those horror stories in the States where when things start to get expensive, companies do everything they can to not pay. I haven't heard those stories here, but you have more experience than I do.
I haven't heard, and none of my clients so far in the last 3 years had any larger bills, except maybe like $1,500 cataract surgery, or just small tests and office visits. But no, I haven't heard any stories for larger. People usually tell me that they've had overall pretty positive experience with the companies we work with.
Okay. And so if let's talk a little bit about costs and deductibles. So we're sitting here, this is June of 2021?
2021.
June of 2021. So obviously this info will be out of date in 6 months or a year or whatever, but as of June 2021, very ballpark, give me a little range as far as like Cadillac policy with all the bells and whistles versus, if I want something as cheap as I can get and maybe somewhere in between. What kind of range am I looking at?
For a first dollar coverage plans, they range, let's talk about people in their 50s and 60s, because that's
we have to define age,
the most, because it goes by the age group, and usually like every 5 years there's a difference in the premium. So let's first say people in their 50s or mid 50s, like first dollar coverage plan, you would pay around $100 a month. For people over 65, that goes up to about $200 a month. And with the first dollar coverage plan, there's like 5 different plans available from 10,000 per year coverage to 100,000, and they go like 10,000, 30,000, 50, 70,000, and 100,000. So it gets a little bit more expensive. For the high deductible plan, for
So I'm
younger.
sorry, I'm just not familiar with that term. First dollar means low deductible?
Yes, that's
Okay.
usually
Or
deductible
no
only
deductible.
between $80 and $200.
So
It's
practically no deductible.
almost
Okay.
almost no deductible.
So
Very low.
no deductible, basically anywhere from $90 up to like $200 a month,
Right.
depending on your. I guess if you're younger, like if you're 30, 40, would it be?
Yes,
a lot?
it will be maybe $40-50 a month.
Okay.
For younger people.
Okay. So
So-
now high deductible.
Now, high deductible is the 5,000 deductible. People over age 65, we're looking at the premiums, in $70-80 range a month
Mm-hmm.
for the high deductible. Over 70 years old, it's a little over maybe $100 a month. And the same with the first coverage plans. Usually, I would say the premium is doubled or tripled for the low
Over six. Oh, sorry.
for the low deductible plan. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, pretty affordable compared to back home, considering, people
Yes.
keep jobs just to keep their health insurance back home without it.
Well, I would be paying probably $700 a month in Texas if I was back home. And now I'm paying here $100 a month, so it's a big.
And
huge
that's with
difference.
almost no
Deductible, right? In the U.S., I would have 5,000 deductible,
Right.
and I'll be paying $700-800
And
versus.
and five, yeah. So for someone like me, I don't like insurance, of any kind. Like I don't have car insurance, which you don't have to have here. I don't even know if I have health insurance. I'm supposed to. I may not. But for someone like me who's not in insurance, if I want to just have the cheapest plan, and I'm 38 years old, I could $30, $40, $50 a month. I could find something to cover me. Is that about right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. And then if I want the bells and whistles and all the, all the extras, couple $100, then I'll be covered. Okay, great. What has been, a little bit off topic, but really just your opinion. What's been your experience with the quality of care here?
From the last few years, I've been very pleased with the care I received here, and I spent one night in a hospital. I had a surgery done here. I was by myself in a room. It was double room, but I was by myself at UTPL hospital in Loja. I had a laparoscopic surgery. The care was excellent. My friend from Canada came to visit me, and she said that I had nicer room than what she had seen in Canada.
Yeah.
They really paid attention to everything. I am gluten intolerant, so even in the morning, the lady came and she said, I know you can't have bread. What else I can bring you that you can eat? It was very nice. Through the night, they checked on me every 30 minutes, the blood pressure and everything, to make sure. So I was very pleased with the care. The same with the doctors. They're more personal here. You almost like become friends with the doctors that you go to see, and they don't spend 5 or 10 minutes. It's another good point here that we should mention. In the U.S., when you go to see a doctor, they spend maybe 5 or 10 minutes maximum with you. Here, you may even spend a whole hour with your doctor, and he or she will talk to you about all the details, go over tests, and will do anything that you have to do. As a woman, I may just share my experience with a gynecologist here. I have a lady doctor in Loja, and always I spend more than 1 hour with her. She goes over everything. She checks the whole abdomen. She has a sonogram machine. She looks at my liver and all the different parts and explains everything. She even takes pictures, and she sends the pictures to me on my phone. So it's
more personal, more human.
More human, more
Yeah.
personal, and there are some doctors here that will use also natural medicine, and they may recommend some natural therapies, and that's another subject. We here in Vilcabamba that we can talk about. We have a doctor from Egypt who does some natural treatments, and we just got a contact from someone even in the US who may want to come here for some natural cancer treatments, and we'll be doing more and more of this here in Vilcabamba too.
Yeah.
So that's another subject. We might invite Dr. Ashraf to speak about this.
That'd be great. I'd love
And
to do that,
in fact, I mentioned that to him this morning, and he said, "Yes, why not?" Yeah.
Put me in touch.
So we may do another session with the doctor.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, I mean, just to chime in on that for a second, and it kind of goes back to the culture in general. But yeah, much more human. Time is not money, right, in Ecuador per se. Maybe in some of the bigger cities a little bit, but not in this area. And so people are willing to give you their time. They're not rushing you in and out. And yeah, from my experience versus the States, I mean, I much prefer the medical system here. And it's not, they have all the equipment too. It's not like they're really nice, but they're working in sort of third world conditions and they don't have all the equipment. They do have all the equipment. And as you mentioned, they're a little bit more integrative in their approach. Like I had a doctor one time, I had a digestive issue, and he took I guess it's stethoscope it's called or whatever, and was listening to my stomach for like 10 minutes. He's like listening, and I'm thinking, what is this guy doing? And he did do the endoscopy, so he had that info also. But he spent a long time listening to my stomach and really used that as a diagnostic, in addition to the info that he had. And I was very impressed. He cared. He was, he wanted to see me get better. He wasn't just sort of meat processing me. In the States, it's like they got 10 different rooms set up and they're whirlwinding.
Sometimes you don't even see a doctor in the US. It's a physician assistant who will come for a few minutes, and that's it. You can't even see a doctor often. But here, it's quite different, and it's like back to old times when the doctors are more human and much more warmer to listen to you, to all your health issues, and get in tune with what you need.
I mean, I even had doctors here talk to me about like, are you stressed out? Is it stress? And like, are you talking to me about my mental process and things? Like, it was, it was refreshing. Okay, so before we wrap up, is there anything I'm missing? Is there tips or advice? Is there something that people should be thinking about as it relates to insurance? Obviously, we'll put your contact info so you guys can get in touch with Kasia and get your insurance squared away prior to your arrival or not. But anything else that you want to add before we wrap up?
I think we touched on most issues that usually people ask me before they arrive here. So don't worry, you'll be well taken care of here. We all have gone through life situations and sickness here, and I was actually happy that I had my surgery done here, not in the US, because I felt like I received even much better quality care and for a lot less money.
Sure. And partly, there's not a lot of regulations here in the medical world, and insurance companies are not heavily involved. So that's one of the big differences between here and the States.
One more thing I might add is that also some prices are negotiable here.
Right.
So the price that they give you up front, it's not necessarily what you will pay. It was my case because I went to see two doctors about my issue because I knew I needed surgery, and I wanted to have it done by laparoscopy. And one doctor gave me one quote, and then I found Dr. Ashraf, and he gave me another quote, much better price, and I saved $500. So it can happen. So if you shop around and talk to several doctors and ask for recommendations, people here already have enough experience with different specialists and clinics that we have available here, and things are negotiable.
Right. I mean, I don't want to take this too far, but like you literally can negotiate. Like you can literally say, "Oh, that's a lot. Like I don't have this much. Can you do it for less?" And that's perfectly acceptable here. So, okay, great. Well, again, thank you for taking the time.
Yes.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
If you like this content, this video, give us a like, give us a share, give us a comment. Put your comments. I'll pass them along as well, and we'll get stuff answered that way. And again, her contact info will be in the description below. Thanks so much for tuning in, and have a great day.